Hello and you're very welcome to another edition of the JMac Podcast. I'm John McMahon, and of course this podcast is sponsored by OrgaRetro.com. Check the website for all your retro gear needs and wants. And today I'm joined by Frankie Dolan, former Roscommon and St Bridget's player. And Frankie's in good form. How are you, Frankie?
Great now, John. Yeah, thanks. All good. Looking forward to getting back to football now next week.
Yeah, geez, I think you're echoing the same opinion for everyone, really, Frank. And it'll be great to have it back. And I suppose how's life? You're hitting the golf course now in a couple of hours, so we look forward to that.
Yeah, looking forward to that. I packed in the golf there the last number of years, I suppose, and the kids came along, so I'm trying to get back into it now. And so I joined Roscommon this year, so hopefully hit a few fairways today.
Fingers crossed. And I suppose, ask everyone really, Frankie, but how have you found last year? I suppose, obviously, you're working with yourself, you're keeping yourself busy, but how have you found everything in COVID times? And I suppose, has it changed your perspective on a lot of stuff?
Yeah, I suppose two things there. Changed the perspective on a few things, all right. And I'm in the post office, and like work for us has been crazy the last year and a bit. So we've been kept very, very busy. It's like Christmas every day. It's eased off a bit now in the last week and a half. It's eased off a little bit, but up to then it was just crazy. The volumes of stuff coming through with people shopping online and all that type of stuff. And so I suppose that perspective has been good for me. Kept me busy, and I suppose the football side of things as well. When you're involved with sport all your life, and when you can't go to it, or when you can't coach, when you can't play, I suppose when it's taken away from you, that's when you really miss it, you know. So it's great that it's back now for the club players and on Monday. And yeah, I think everybody is excited to get back, and I suppose getting into a bit of good weather as well. So maybe this thing with a bit of a split season coming is probably a good thing for club, you know, with playing and training in good weather, you know. And you know, whatever the season may be, and I'm an athlete now this year, so it's looking like a 6-month season, so that's good, you know.
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt. And I suppose with everything given everything that's going on, I suppose, Frankie, and everyone's probably had more time to think and kind of more time to maybe reevaluate where they're at and what they're doing. Frankie, I suppose, has your mindset changed in terms of a lot of things? Because, like I say to a lot of people, it's probably slowed a lot of people down. It's probably given us a chance to actually think of what we actually want. So, have you got a good time to think and got a fresh perspective on things, Frankie? Or
I have, yeah. I had a bit of time on my hands as well, and last March, got this notion in my head to write a book, and you know, that kept me very busy as well the last year. So, and I ended up going back playing a bit of junior B football as well last year. I don't know whether that's a good or a bad thing, but I really enjoyed it. You know, we met up with the St Bridget's lads after the Wonder County final at the end of the year, and a couple of geniuses decided to say we get a few of the older lads back playing. But over a few pints it sounded great, but not a lot of them turned up the following week when there was a match, you know. But it was great to get out, and it was great to get back. And it's grand being on the sideline, it's grand being coaching and managing, you know. But geez, at the end of the day, you can't be playing. Even I'm 42, and geez, I love getting out there for the couple of games. I ended up pulling the hamstring actually in one of the games.
Oh God.
Playing against Roscommon Gales here, scored a goal, and it's so funny. Mick Byrne, he's a dub. He was in goal for the Gales and nutmegged him in the goal, and he fell over himself. And as I ran by him, I pulled the hamstring, so I had that class and carried off the pitch.
Jesus, there's life in the old dog, yeah, Frankie. Geez, why wouldn't you, I suppose? And I think it's COVID's probably prolonged a lot of lads' careers, and maybe got a lot of lads back into the game. And so it's great to see you're still doing a bit. And I suppose we can touch on to your Roscommon County days. You were represented Roscommon in the early noughties, and I suppose what was it all like for you, Frankie? Obviously you're from a really successful club team, St Bridget's there in Roscommon, but I suppose Roscommon, you broke onto the team, Frankie, and the proudest days of your life.
Yeah, I love my time with Roscommon. I didn't have an awfully long inter-county career, probably 8 or 9 years overall. But I started back in, I would have went on to into the county panel in '98. I was in Gay Shearmans over Roscommon. They were getting to the kind of final. They got to the kind of final against Galway, and they drew the first game down in Tuam and ended up going to a replay. And 2 brilliant games of football. But I was in. Gay wanted me in the team or in the squad, but I only went in to play couple of bits of training matches. I thought it was too early for myself, but I had the bug back then. I got it and I loved it and I got on very well. But I joined the panel then officially probably in '99, and that's when my intercounty career would have taken over in the good old days. And when football was probably man v man, and probably for a forward more enjoyable back then than it probably is now. So I was lucky that had a couple of really good years, and to represent your county, it's the highest you can get for your GA career. So yeah, that was really good, and met really good people, really good friends, and had some really good days out.
Yeah, definitely, without doubt. And I suppose kind of like I'm always interested to hear the kind of perspective from the former players, and I suppose what it was like to kind of play in the early noughties and early '90s, and in some cases. So, Frankie, how much do you think the game has changed in recent years? Because as you were right to say there, it was man to man, nice brand of attacking football, and now it's got very defensive games. Or probably a lot of games probably aren't worth watching. So, how enjoyable was it to play back in the early noughties, Frankie?
Yeah. It's totally different game back then. You had space in front of you as a forward most of the time. I remember playing against like Sean Marty, Lockhart, Derry, Francie Bellew, a couple of any amount of Tomas Meehan, Galway, like some brilliant footballers, and it was a real individual thing, and if you were getting the better of him, he was probably whipped off, and vice versa. But I suppose nowadays, the last number of years, last probably 10 years, the game has totally changed, and that space probably isn't in front of you anymore. But I think it's starting to change a little bit again. I was looking at Galway and Dublin at times there, Kerry. I think they're trying to change the game, and looking at Pádraig Joyce in particular, and probably looking the way he's looking at the game as a forward's perspective. Trying to keep players up the field, try and keep your good forwards up the field, which to me is the way I like to play football, coach football. And I think that's coming back into it a bit again. I think it'll go full circle. Hopefully it will. And this thing of bringing everybody behind the ball and going backwards and forwards and every way where you should be going, that probably enjoyment has gone out of it as a forward, I suppose. And as a spectator watching it. Some games are, you wouldn't watch them. I wouldn't watch them. It's not worth watching. So hopefully that's going to change, and maybe the GA will have to look at it thoroughly and come up with some solution to, getting spectators enjoying watching Gaelic football again, the way it was back in, I suppose, my time, or back in the noughties, when there was really good games. I know, like people that say that there's massive scores going up now, and there is massive scores going up, but the real enjoyment is not there for the spectator. Like, we pay €80 to watch an All Ireland final. I stopped going to them, because they're not worth going to. And I go to a hurling match, even though I wouldn't know how to hit a schlitter, but I go to it just for the entertainment and the enjoyment and the action,
Yeah, I suppose it's interesting kind of you say that, because obviously the high scores, and obviously I think that one of the examples I can nearly use is that we played Donegal in last year in the 2019 Ulster final, and I think it was a really high scoring game. But I think we got all our scores when Donegal maybe stopped playing and stopped setting up that defensive approach and everything that went with it when they knew they had the game won, Frankie. So do you feel maybe it's a system thing within teams, when they stop that system, when they know that the game won, when they know they probably stank the place out, that's when this kind of defensive nonsense comes in, Frankie?
Yeah, I think so, John. There's a couple of things in it, and it's probably hard to really pinpoint it. I know what you're saying about Donegal maybe switched off and that, but I just think coaches and managers have a much larger responsibility to, make players enjoy the game. you know, want to go training, want to learn, want to be coached, you know. And I'll go back to it. This thing of, you know, bringing everybody behind the ball. It's like anybody that probably wasn't involved in sport, like, could coach a team to do that, get everybody behind the ball and just break out, blah, blah, blah. You know, but I think coaches need to put a bit more effort and a bit more thought process into it and start changing the game again. You know, it will go full circle. And I suppose as soon as a team changes that, whether they leave 4, 5, 6 forwards up in the opposition half and they start winning, that's when the thing will start moving, and managers and coaches around the country say, geez, let's try this, they're winning, you know. So I think that's the way it goes. That's the way it has happened. And, you know, as soon as that starts happening again, system change, then everybody else's mentality and coaches will look at that and say, right, let's copy these, and they're winning, so let's see, can we win with it, you know?
Yeah, definitely, without doubt. And suppose we can touch on to your personal career again, Frankie. You obviously tagged on 4 Connacht titles between junior, playing for the juniors, under 21, and the senior Roscommon team. So nice to win in every grade as well, Frankie. It's a nice feeling, and there's not many players that probably say that they've won in every grade. So what was it like to tag on all them Connacht titles for yourself, Frankie, and probably get the ball rolling in under 21 level?
Yeah, I would have went in when, oh Jesus, that's a long time ago, John. But 99 with under 21s, and Frank Grehan was over us. He'd be Francie Grehan that played with Roscommon centre back. He won an All-Star. He'd be Francie's father, and yeah, that was really enjoyable at under 21s. We had a really good team then, and we ended up going playing Kerry in the All-Ireland semi-final down in Ennis that year, and sure, the whole day was a pure disaster. I remember it was a roasting hot day, and there was no windows in the bus that could be opened the whole way from Roscommon down to Ennis, and the bus broke down just outside the hotel in Ennis when we got back onto it, head to the pitch, and players had to run down to the ground, players had to jump into cars, you know, some lads arrived there with no gear, and, you know, that was the times back then, and Kerry bet us that day, but it was still, I remember it was still very enjoyable games. We played Galway down in Tuam, was a cracker of a game, and Sligo in the kind of final was another good game. And yeah, and I suppose winning at that age was probably important, to just get that winning mentality, and that definitely helped going forward down through the years. You know what I mean, with winning a Connacht senior with Roscommon, and then with my own club, you know. And luckily enough, as you say, probably won every medal I could have won, bar an All-Ireland final medal, you know, so that, you know, not I can't complain, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely, without doubt. And I suppose the senior title that you tagged on with the Roscommon footballers as well, Frank, and obviously part of a very strong Roscommon team. And I suppose Connacht was always a very hard province to probably have success in, because at the end of the day, and really, Galway were really dictating things. So what was it like to kind of come up against some of the great Galway and Mayo teams, Frankie, and pitch yourself against the best?
Yeah, Connacht was very competitive, especially for, I suppose, John, a county like ourselves. We wouldn't have the pool of players that like the Galway and Mayo would have, and we won the Connacht final in 2001, and it was 10 years previous to that the last time we won it. You know, so to win that was exciting. It was brilliant, and the way we won the game with Jerry Lohan getting the goal in the last kick of the game made it even better. You know, the Hyde was full that day. It was about 30,000. The atmosphere was incredible, and you know, that really gave me a bug for the senior. You know, but like, to win it was brilliant. You know, we bet Galway, we bet Mayo, so it was probably a really good Connacht medal to win. You know, we went the hard way about it, you know, so that'll be cherished forever, you know.
Yeah, definitely, without a shadow of a doubt. And I suppose we're touching on to the early days as well, and Galway and Mayo. So obviously in Connacht Championship, like when you're coming up against them kind of teams, Frankie, that's really good preparation for the All Ireland series. So do you feel when you're coming up against them teams, do you feel maybe an All-Ireland title would have been in your grasp? Obviously, because like that was seriously good Mayo, as I said, and Galway team. So do you feel you maybe could have had a good real run in the All-Ireland series, winning them Connacht titles back in the day?
But John, it's difficult for the likes of Roscommon. You know, like there's only 10 or 12 senior clubs in the county. You know, and some of them no disrespect to them, wouldn't be the strongest of senior clubs. So Roscommon wouldn't be pulling from a big pool of players, whereas the likes of Mayo, Galway have, a lot of players to pull from, and the problem with Roscommon was if we got injuries or if we got suspensions, we were struggling badly, and that happened a couple of times. We got to league semi-finals, National League Division 1 semi-finals over the years, 3 or 4 of them. And we put a lot of preparation into that. And we were playing the Kerrys, the Tyrones, the Dublins, the Galways, the Mayos. And, I know we would play Cavan in a league semi-final one day. And I was on the bench, I was injured. And I looked beside me and there was 4 of the other lads, starters, were beside me. And Cavan bet us out the gate that day. They got, 4 or 5 goals or something. And that sort of... Them years were really good league-wise. We were very competitive, always up there with the top teams. But then, after that, to me, that's when we start getting little niggles, a couple of injuries, a suspension here or there, and then, you're straight into championship. And that's probably only won one kind of title in our time playing senior, because, we put so much into the league, and then by the time the championship came, things didn't work out for one reason or another, and that's where big panels to me is so important. And that's where like Galway and Mayo always had big strong panels, and if they had a couple of injuries they could match more or less like for like, whereas we were struggling that way, so but as you say, it was good preparation, for playing the bigger teams, and bar the time we in 2001 we bet Galway and Mayo in the Connacht Championship, and we ended up playing Galway again in the quarter-final, which was a pure disaster for us. We wanted the game in Croke Park. We didn't play there before, and the game was down in Castlebar. And to beat Galway twice in the 1 year, especially under John O'Mahony, was going to be difficult. But down to Castlebar, where we have a dreadful record, was just a disaster for us. And I think we were bet before we went down there that day, being honest with you.
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose, how big of an achievement is it for like Roscommon, as you were kind of alluding to there, the population compared to the likes of Galway, Mayo, and maybe other counties as well. So when you do have big days, league promotions, Connacht title wins, everything that goes with it, Frankie, how big of an achievement, and what does that all mean to Roscommon as a county?
Yeah, it's massive for the county, John. Like, Gaelic football is the #1 sport in the county. Soccer wouldn't be overly big, I think soccer has taken off a little bit, all right, but compared to other counties. But like, Gaelic is massive. As I said, we wouldn't have a massive pool of players to pick from. But I suppose the players that we have, and in Roscommon, we've been lucky over the years. We've had some really, really top class forwards, and we still have them today, like the Murtas, like some class forwards there, the Smiths. Conor Cost came in from Kerry. Probably what's really let Roscommon down over the years is just probably midfield areas, not having the natural big athletic midfielders, a couple of decent defenders. Roscommon aren't a mile off it, but again, I go back to what we're pulling from is very small. And, for the success we've had over the years, I think Roscommon have done very well over the last number of years. A couple of kind of titles, a couple of league titles, Division 2, whatever. But, Roscommon have always, performed probably better than, probably should have, with what we have to work with. But there's a lot of effort, there's a lot of fundraising going on in the county over the last number of years, and the county board have got their house in order, so things are looking up, and did a really successful draw last year with Ballymore Properties in Sean Mulrine, and their finances are in order. And I suppose now it's about getting underage right, development squads right, and that's where it all starts. You see what happened with Dublin there a number of years ago. They got their house in order. So I think it's for the likes of Roscommon now, with what we have to work with. We have to be very clever in the way we get these development squads together, get good coaches in, and try and develop younger kids, whether it be men, ladies, football, whatever, and get them ready for senior football down the road, and make sure they're in a good place to compete at the highest level, if that's possible.
Yeah, definitely, and it'd be great to see from a Roscommon perspective. And I suppose, Frankie, when you look back in your kind of Roscommon days, and obviously, as you were saying at the start, you put a lot of emphasis into your club, St. Bridget's, and we've seen a lot of that over the years. But with Roscommon, do you feel you probably enjoy maybe playing the club football more than the county, or what did you make of your kind of county days over the years?
Yeah, well, personally myself, I think I was sort of made a scapegoat a lot of times for bits and pieces that would have went on or would have not went on. But I sort of got enough of it in the end, and I just had to do it for my own head more than anything. I just had to step away from it, and luckily enough for me, my club St. Bridget's, we were coming and going there from the late '90s, early noughties. We went 5-6 years without a county title, and then all of a sudden a really good group of players got together between under 21 and a few more senior lads that were there, and we had some from about 2005 2006 on up until about 2014-15. Like we had some brilliant days out, a lot of county final wins, a lot of Connacht club wins, probably, I think we lost 4 or 5 Connacht titles as well, and we won in All Ireland, lost in All Ireland, so we lost All Ireland semi-finals. So I was lucky that I could step into that environment where my club team was, one of the best club teams in the country at the time and performing at a high level. So to me, I was very lucky that was there for me to step back into, because if it didn't, I don't know what would have happened to me, and that kept me really busy. And like we were trained, like I remember there at one stage we were 5 years on the road training without a break, and we loved it, and looking back at it, the times were brilliant. We socialised together, we went out together, we went on holidays, went to Cape Town, we went to, where did we go? Germany. We went to another couple of places I can't think off the top of my head, but all that was brilliant, and and that brought that group of players really together, and they gelled together, and and it was brilliant times, and great looking back on it and thinking about it. All right, John. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, without a shadow of a doubt. And I suppose I'm interested to hear your perspective on that as well, Frankie. You thought maybe you're felt as a scapegoat at times, and maybe a lot of pressure playing for the Roscommon senior footballers. So, what was that about, Frankie? Did you feel maybe, seeing as you were one of the best forwards to come out of Roscommon, do you feel there was that bit of added pressure on you, or was it just abuse from fans, or what was it? What was all that about?
Oh, it was like, funnily enough, like, well, I lived in Dublin at the time, and I lived in Roscommon, I lived in Athlone, but like back then it was sort of a given. Like players would go out for a night out after a championship match, and back in our day, every county done it, John. Well, as far as I know, because we socialised with nearly them all, and for some reason or another, when we went out, there was always a problem, in Roscommon, whether the management had a problem or the county board had a problem, but there was never a problem with any other county. And there was always the same lads out, the whole lot would be out, the whole team would be out, but there was always the same 2 or 3 lads that get the curly finger and say, what's going on here, and it was always me for some reason, always 1 or 2 others, and no point naming them, but that was part and parcel of it. Like we would have trained, like back, sometimes it could be 4, 5, 6 weeks between matches, and you were training like a dog, and you'd actually look forward to going out, relaxing after a match, whether it be on a Sunday evening, and you go for a few pints on the Monday and you're back training on Tuesday. But team managers didn't like that back then, the county board didn't like it for some reason, and I don't know, to me it was crazy stuff, and I was always in the group that we brought in with the manager there. What's going on here,
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it's interesting that as well, Frankie. Like, do you feel it's got very serious, obviously, with county lads not being able to have a few points after the game, and maybe, as you say, on the Sunday and Monday after, slogging away? Because at the end of the day, Frankie, I always say, county players, they're getting diddly squats, they're not getting paid for doing this. So realistically, Frankie, a few points isn't the worst thing.
No, to me, a few pints is you really get to know your teammates. It's grand. You could be training with lads there for months and months and months, and you only get to know them when you sit down and chat them. You know, whether it's over a cup of tea, whether it's over a soft drink, whether it's over a bottle of beer, whatever, you know, and that's when you get to really know your teammates and see what he's about, and he gets to know you, and that's the social thing is important as well. You know, it doesn't have to be about alcohol, you know, and like I played with lads, especially with Bridges, younger lads, and I played with them for a few years, and you know, only for we met in the clubhouse after. You know, we were lucky with a clubhouse there, and you could go in and sit down and have a cup of tea or whatever you wanted. And that's when you get to know lads. You're not going to get to know a person on the training pitch, really. You know what I mean? You're out there for an hour and a half. You're training. You're flat out. You don't have time to talk shite or whatever you wanted to call it. You know, you can do that after. And to me, that's important to get to know players, especially as a coach or a manager. You know, and get to know what they're about, what their life is about, work-wise. You know, everything else that goes with it, how they're getting on, and like if you have a happy player, if a player is happy, you know, you get to know him. You know, put a bit of effort into him. I think the player is going to enjoy his football more, and I think as a manager, looking at the team perspective, you get more out of a player when you know he knows you're looking out for him. You know he has his back. You know you have an interest in him, and you'll stop to have a chat with him. You know, and when I was playing back, I suppose at Roscommon, not too many managers done that with me. You know, some of them would hardly say hello to you, never mind have a chat with you. You know, so but times have changed. I don't know whether it's for the good or the bad, but like you see the rugby players after matches, you know, to be having a beer on the pitch, beer in the dressing room. Like if a Gaelic player done that, he'd be I don't know what had happened to him nowadays. You know, it's totally over the top. It's an amateur sport. I don't know where it's going to end. You know, I think the GA have to come in and put something in place that, you know, that players have some bit of a life, a bit of a lifestyle. You know, that they're not training the 6-7 days a week, and as you say, John, they're not getting paid for it, you know. So it's a pastime, it's a hobby. So I just think the GA need to be very careful on the road that inter-county teams in particular are going down.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully, maybe the grip on county players can be eased a bit, Frankie, and just to make it that bit more enjoyable, so we could sustain the players as well. And I suppose when you look back at it, Frankie, with the Roscommon senior footballers, did you maybe retire? Did you just leave the panel, or what was the reason for finishing up with the Roscommon lads?
No, I left the panel. I had enough of it, John. I stepped away, and I stepped away the night we had our dinner dance with the club, and I told the chairman and I told the lads that night, and they all thought I was talking shite, to be honest. And I said, lads, I'm serious, and we had a league game the following day, and that was it, done, walked away. I was happy. And I just concentrate on the club more or less, you know, for the next 10, 15 years. And I'm delighted I done that, because I probably got a bit more out of my own body, my own legs. You know, if I was playing county for another 4 or 5 years after that, you'd be broken up, you'd be tired, you'd have injuries, the travelling, the time, you know, and I suppose I utilised that time, and thankfully I got as much as I could out of myself, and you know, we were very successful with the club, you know, and that made it that much easier as well. When you're winning, it's always easier, and it's always enjoyable, you know.
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose, what was the deciding factor of finishing up for Roscommon? It was just maybe the longevity. You just wanted to prolong your club career, and did you just feel you just had enough at that stage, Frankie?
I had enough, yeah. I remember 2000, I think it was 2005. Tommy Carr was over us, and I would have went back training early that year. I remember I went back training in October on my own, October, November, December, and I got myself into really, really good shape, probably the best shape I was ever in. And we were playing. We done the fitness test in January. I was second in the fitness test out of 40 players or whatever, you know. So that showed the management that I was serious. You know, I was fit. I was keen to get back and play for the county, and the National League started anyways whenever, early February or late January, I can't remember, and I was on the bench for it. I wasn't too happy, and I was brought on for a couple of minutes, and I don't like coming on the pitch for a couple of minutes, you know. I'm either starting or I'm no good to the team, and I was named sub the next day against Carlow in the National League for the week after, whenever it was the week, and no communication whatsoever from the management. So I was like, that's fine. And I decided to step away, John, and that was more or less the end of my county career at that stage then.
Yeah, definitely without a doubt. And I suppose, guys, this podcast is sponsored by OrgaRetro.com. Check the website for all your retro gear needs and wants. And I suppose, Frankie, we can touch on to the mighty club team, the St. Bridget's. You've won 10 Roscommon titles with them, and you won the All-Ireland Club title in 2013, and you lost the club final in 2011 to the mighty Crossmaglen. But 10 Roscommon senior titles as well for yourself, Frankie. Seriously impressive.
Yeah, but as John, I was lucky, as I said already. I was lucky that we had a really good bunch of players over the probably, well, since I started in '97, probably over, you could say, maybe 20 years. There was always talent there in Bridget's, and I suppose that's down to the club, the way they developed teams from under sixes up to minor, and it's still ongoing. We've a good chairman there, Michael McDonald, and the club is thriving. And there's a massive development going on there now. It's starting hopefully soon. Putting new gyms and new dressing rooms, new everything's going into it. The whole place is going to be good. So it's massive work going on there, and it's great for the kids coming up that they're going to have everything. Everything is there for them, And it was more or less the same with me growing up as well. We had the Hudson Bay Hotel there, sponsor of the team, and still are. And we had the use of the gym, the use of the pools, all that type of stuff, and like we were never short of facilities, and I think that's what kept players on board. That the club are always trying to improve, trying to progress. They're always developing ground there. We've three full size pitches, small size AstroTurf pitch, or small size training pitch. So I think in that light, it's easy to keep players on board. Everything is there for them. Whereas I've been around a few clubs doing coaching or managing whatever, and some clubs have very little, and they probably find it very hard to hold on to players, especially younger players. And I suppose that's where the likes of Bridget's, your Clonagale, have that little bit of advantage. They're probably forward thinking. They have everything in place, structures are in place, coaches are in place, everything's in place, and I suppose that's why Bridget's and Clonagale are the most successful clubs in the county, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I suppose 10 Roscommon titles as well, Frankie. That's some going, as I said. So what was it like to kind of win all them titles, Frankie, and probably toast to great success with the club over the years? Yeah,
it's always great to finish a season, John, with a championship medal, with the effort you put in and the time and everything else around it, the sacrifice of missing this or missing that, or missing holidays or missing weddings, and to be able to get a medal at the end of it is always worthwhile, and to be able to celebrate it with the lads then on the Sunday and the Monday, that's what it's all about to me. And the crack does be, yourself, if you're as a player, the Monday after a county final is always a great day, and it's always a day I cherished. And the lads, you'd wake up the Monday morning and the phone would be hopping, where are we going, what's the crack, and you wouldn't even be talking about football then on the Monday, it's just, you're blowing off the steam with the lads. You're trained like a dog for the year or whatever, and it's good times. Everyone is happy, and But I suppose what we really look forward to then after that was prepare for the Connacht Championship. We loved the Connacht Championship, and I think I played in 8 or 9 Connacht finals, won 4, and they were brilliant times as well. And to win the All Ireland then in 2013 was lucky enough, capped off probably my career, you could say. To get the All Ireland medal was brilliant. It was the best feeling that probably I ever had, and we were lucky that again we had really good management team, Kevin McStay, Benny O'Brien, and Lee McHale, so these things aren't handed to you, and like that team, the team that was there, that team would have worked hard for over 10 years to get to that level. So I suppose Kevin and Liam Benny coming in, a lot of the groundwork was done for them. They just had to tighten up a few things and make small little changes here and there, and thankfully they've done a brilliant job in that, and they got us over the line. But I suppose by the skin of our teeth, we only got it in the last kick of the game, which probably made it even better again. So but all great memories, John. And you wouldn't You know, you couldn't fault anything. You couldn't fault the club over the years, you know, for everything they've done for me personally and the team, you know, and they're still doing it, which is great to see. And, you know, there's great passion, great drive. And, you know, I suppose that's what makes Bridges probably one of the best clubs in the county.
Yeah, definitely, without a shadow of a doubt. And I suppose we can touch on to that 2011 club final against great Crossmaglen as well, Frank. And I suppose what was it like to come up against that juggernaut that is Crossmaglen, because we know all about their success over the years and how good they are, all those club championships they won, all the All Ireland titles they won. So, not bad preparation for someone's obviously got back in 2013, but 2011 final, Frankie, what was that like as an experience for you?
Yeah, it was. Still have regrets of that day, John. We lost the game 2-11 to 1-11. Probably not playing as well as we could have played. You know, remember it was a beautiful day up there, but like you got to give credit to Crossmaglen, Oisin McConville there, and Jamie Clark, and you know the Kernans, Herity. You know, super club. You know, like we would have lost an All-Ireland semi-final a couple of years before that as well. So we had that little bit of rivalry. I wouldn't say it was a big rivalry, but we had that little bit of rivalry. But to lose that game, it was heartbreaking. You know, I know we didn't play well ourselves as a team, but to be within a kick of a ball, you could say, of that Crossmaglen team, it still gave us hope, and it definitely helped. I believe in 2013, 2 years later, you know, because the more times you play in Croke Park, the better, you know, especially in finals. So that definitely helped us prepare for that 2013 final, yeah. And like it wasn't the end of the world to lose that final in 2011. Like that Crossmaglen team was talked about as the best club team of all time, and they were going for 3 in a row then in 2012. We would have played them in 2012 in the All-Ireland semi-final, or 2013, sorry, and you know they were going for the 3 in a row that time. So to be able to finally get over the line, you know, that day was brilliant, you know, and that's up there one of the best victories that personally for me, and well, I suppose the club as well, you know, to be able to beat Crossmaglen and to knock them out. They were going for 3 in a row, was, you know, that gave us massive belief as well after that.
Yeah, and in 2013, obviously the year came knocking around, Frank, and he's got your hands in the All Ireland club title. So a special feeling for yourself, the club, your family, your friends, absolutely everyone involved in St. Bridget's, Frankie, and an unbelievable feeling.
Yeah, it was funny kind of game, John. Like, sure, we were 8 or 9 points down after, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes of that game, and the funny thing about that game is nobody panicked on the pitch. You know, we were still creating a couple of chances, and the ball was either dropping short or just narrowly going wide, you know, but it wasn't as if we were being steamrolled altogether, you know. So, and thankfully then Seneca Bry got a great goal about 3/4 way through the first half. So that sort of settled us a bit. We tagged on a couple of points. And we were 4 points down at half time, so we were in a good place. And luckily enough, Ballymun didn't get another couple of scores because they probably could have put the game to bed in the first half, you know. So, but the second half took on a life of its own, and you got to give credit to all the players that day, because every player really upped their game that day, and we had to because like that Ballymun team is a serious team still. You know, and there were, you know, everybody had to play out of their skins, up their levels, and in particular, I suppose, our defence in the second half was superb. Dominican, Ronan Stack, you know, they were Inca Bryce and centre back. They were superb, and Garvin Dolan, my own brother, came on at half time, and he shook up a few of the Ballymun lads around the middle of the field, and we needed that bit of physicality. They were running through us in the first half, and Garvin came on, and you know, I remember he hit James McCarthy an outrageous shoulder. He hit their centre back an outrageous shoulder, and that laid down the marker then and that really put our stamp on the game. We were nearly dictating the game then, and Mango got a brilliant goal, fisted in a ball. Great thinking from him. I don't think I've seen a goal like that since or ever. It was a brilliant goal, and the momentum. When the momentum changes, then it's very hard for a team to get back. And in fairness, you got to give credit to Ballymun that they kept sticking with us, and and I made a mistake near the end of the game. They went up and got a score from it, and it was a draw. And thankfully, last play of the game, Niall Graham got in a great touch, and he turned over the ball, and it was a counter-attack move, and everything just worked perfectly. Every hand pass was perfect, and I finally got the ball and popped it over the bar, and we got a bit of luck as well, but the feeling then when Pádraig Hughes blew up the whistle that day was unbelievable. He blew up the whistle straight after the kick out, so to be able to win All Ireland that way made it probably that bit more special, John.
Yeah. I suppose, can you tell me about the just the whole thing around All Ireland Club Final on St Paddy's Day, Frankie? Because everyone's kind of given out that maybe it's been moved from St Paddy's Day, and it probably is a bit of a disgrace, really. But what's it like? Obviously, getting there in 2011, getting there in 2013. So, Frankie, a fantastic experience, great for the club, and great vibes.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I suppose I grew up watching Clonagale, the great Clonagale team, Tony McManus and these guys, getting to finals and losing them, and I would have went to these games with my father, all them games when I was younger, up to Down, to the Burn, to Croke Park, Port Leash. I was at all them games, and I suppose, you don't really appreciate it until you're retired to see, where you've got to in your own game personally and as a team. And to be able to travel up to Croke Park, it's a special. Anytime you go to Croke Park, whether you're watching a game or you're lucky enough to play in it, it's a special occasion. The history around the stadium. 80,000 stadium. When there's people in that, that's full. It's a special place. And now there wasn't anything like that in the crowd in Paddy's Day. There was 30-something thousand. But it felt like there was more. So to be able to go up there, represent your club, represent your county, and I suppose your province, it's you don't take it for granted, and you have to cherish it and you have to enjoy it, and if you're lucky enough to win, all the better, If you lose, at least you can say, listen, we got there, we put everything we had into it, we weren't good enough on the day like 2011, but that made us hungrier. It gave us that bit more experience, and going up on the bus on Paddy's Day in 2013 was like, you swear we were going to a concert, John. The crack on the bus was unbelievable. There was no nerves, and that's the thing I'd always say about the Bridges team. When there was banter, when there was crack on the bus, lads were excited. There was no nerves there. There was a great mood in the camp. Everybody was on board. There was nobody, behind the scenes trying to cause trouble or whatever. And that day was unbelievable going up, and it was better coming back. It was actually probably a little bit quieter coming back because lads were so drained. Like Kevin told us, there was no beer on the bus, because we had to go to Athlone, and there was a big crowd there to walk the team and walk the trophy over the bridge. What they normally do when any Connacht team wins the championship, or an All Ireland, and so the bus was quiet enough. Lads were drained. Some lads were asleep, but geez, when we got back to Athlone, then I don't think lads slept for about a week after that.
Or maybe a month.
Yeah.
And that's it. So the All Ireland success, and we see such good club teams. We see the likes of Corofin, Kilcoo, obviously St Bridget's, Crossmaglen the last couple of years. So the big question has to be, Frankie, why is the likes of Down, Roscommon, and say Armagh and teams like that in the last couple of years, Frankie, not doing it at inter-county level? Like, is the club such a commitment and such success with the club? Is it that enjoyable? Lads, when they get onto the county team, they're kind of thinking to themselves, Jesus, I don't really mind the club ball.
I don't know. John, it's an interesting thing you say. Like, you probably have to do a bit of research in it, proper research to see exactly what is the reasons for success for these teams. Like Corofin, to me, are probably one of the best club teams that have ever played the game over the last number of years. You know, their success has been unbelievable. The football they've played has been unbelievable. Now, Corofin I could be wrong, didn't have an awful lot of players on the county squad in these times. Bridget's, when Bridget's won the All Ireland, we had 2 or 3 maybe on the county squad. Kilcoo, I don't know what the numbers are with Kilcoo, but like, I know Gary Castle got to an All Ireland final now. I know they lost it, but they wouldn't have had a lot of lads in county squad. So to me, if you have a team training together more or less the whole year and you don't have that much disruption, if you don't like, then you know you're going somewhere. You know, you can put your own stamp on it. But like, I remember when Bridges weren't going that well, we had 7, 8 lads in county panels. We weren't winning county championships. You know, but like, when we only had maybe the 2 or 3 guys away from the club team for most of the year, you know, it wasn't that bad of a hit. Do you understand me, John? So, but like, when we had all them numbers gone, it made things very, very difficult to gel things back in. You know, the club team would be playing all year with certain players, but when them certain players then were taken out for the county lads to come back in, the whole lot sort of unravelled a bit. You know, so I just think, you know, if I'm looking at it from a Bridges point of view, when I was there, the less lads on the county squad, the better for us as a club team, because there's no doubt about it. We were winning championships when there was very few lads on the county squad. We were winning them. There's no doubt about it. I think Corofin are the same. You know, I don't know. Ian Burke has been in and out of the squad. Gary Sice has been in and out of the county squad. You know, there's a few other guys there, but they're really only committed in the last year or two. And so I think Ian Burke has pulled out of the Galway squad. Was it this year or last year? I can't remember what I've seen. So, so I just think, it's not rocket science that the less lads that you have on a county squad and you have them in your club squad, happy days for the club and happy days for the club manager.
Yeah, definitely. That's probably something I definitely see over the years, and it's great for club teams to keep these lads about the place. And I suppose we can touch on to the current state of affairs, the Roscommon football team, and we in recent months we've seen Stevie Poacher go up there to coach. Good down man, very knowledgeable man. So what do you foresee now for the Roscommon senior footballers? Frankie, obviously pitted against the likes of Galway, Mayo, now Connacht as well. So what are you thinking for the league, Frankie?
I suppose Roscommon are lucky in a way that they've only one away game, and that's to Galway in the league. So we're playing Dublin in 2 weeks' time, but it's very hard to say, John. With like, will Roscommon take the chance and have a challenge match a couple of days before they play Dublin in the league? I think challenge matches are allowed from the Monday, so it's not great preparation. You know, we've Galway away then, and then we have, I think is it Kerry at home. Yeah. So like three brilliant games, but it's going to be very hard to say at the moment, you know, because the teams are training, but they're not playing matches. So how the form is, you know, no one knows. Like Dublin are in the same boat, but I suppose Dublin are lucky in a way that they can probably have A versus Bs, which are as good as challenge games, whereas a lot of counties don't have that opportunity to do it with the depth of their squad. So it's good preparation definitely for Roscommon going in playing against Galway. We've got Galway at home in the championship, but Galway have always played well in Hyde Park, so that's probably a worry for me looking at it. You know, Roscommon play well in Tuam, very well in Tuam, great record in Tuam. I suppose we bet Galway down in the kind of final there a few years ago as well, down in Salt Hill. So Pádraig Joyce will be looking to probably have a better season than he's had last year. So Galway have a serious bunch of players there. There's some brilliant forwards, Shane Walsh in particular. So if they can click under Pádraig, you know, in Hyde Park, big wide open pitch, fast pitch, you know, I think it could be hard for Roscommon, but with, as you say, Stephen Poacher, good coach coming in, good guy. It'll be interesting to see what stamp he has put on this Roscommon team in the next couple of weeks, you know. So he hasn't got a lot of time, you know, but I hope he can tighten them up defensively, you know, get them get them hopefully moving the ball a lot faster than they have. They were a bit ponderous last year, over and back, sideways type of stuff. You know, I'd like to see Roscommon maybe playing a bit faster brand of football. And like, we have dangerous forwards up the pitch, the Murtas, the Smiths, you know, Connor Cox, Kieran Lennon, you know, with some brilliant forwards, individual forwards. So if we can get quick ball up to them, you know, anything is possible. But I just think Galway under par this year, to be putting massive emphasis on this Roscommon game, and with the record they have in Hyde Park, I just might have a slight worry for Roscommon. But listen, I wouldn't write off Roscommon. They've a strong enough panel this year. From what I hear, you know, they've no injuries at the moment, so it's going to be a funny season. It's going to be a quick season for the inter-county, so you're going to have shocks along the way, and hopefully we can have a shock maybe in Hyde Park. I wouldn't be overly worried about the league, but if we can get a win against Galway in the championship, it would be great.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I hope you like defensive football, because Stevie likes parking the bus apparently. So you'll be...
well, the best of luck to him getting Donny Smith and Jeremy Murta and a few Connor Cox back in the full back line.
Stranger things have happened, Frankie. Stranger things have happened. And I suppose, like, what do you make of the league format this year? Obviously with 3 games, and obviously, as you say, a quick season. So what's your verdict on all that, Frankie? I suppose obviously because Roscommon they want to stay in Division 1 football like everyone else, but 3 very, very tough games, and you know, Roscommon might be lucky to kind of maybe get 1 win from them 3 games, Frankie, really, because you know what the Dubs and everyone else is like. So what's the verdict in that kind of shortened season? Because obviously Roscommon really do want to be playing in Division 1, I suppose, Frankie.
Of course we do. Yeah, that's where every county wants to be, John. And looking at it, as you say, probably realistically you'll be targeting the Galway game. Like Kerry coming up, God knows what the mood in the Kerry camp is like after last year. So I'd say Roscommon will fancy a crack at Kerry. I wouldn't be afraid of them. I'd be probably writing off the Dublin game, you know. Starting off with probably no harm that we're getting Dublin in the first game. But hopefully get a win against Galway. And I think Roscommon against Kerry, I think we'll have a chance. If you know, if you say if Poacher is as good as he's made out to be, you know, and can tighten up defensively and leaking in silly scores, I wouldn't be overly worried about Kerry, you know. So if we can get a win against Galway, you know, it'll set us up nicely for a home game against Kerry. And Roscommon won't fare playing Kerry nowadays. And if we could, you know, hit the ground running, get scores on the board, get confidence going, get your Cox, get your Murtas, you know, these lads playing with a bit of confidence, get them on ball, you know, they can do damage, John. Like these guys are some of the best forwards in the country. Donny Smith, like these are top end forwards that can score. A lot of counties would love to have these guys. They can score from play. They're natural footballers, you know. So I'd be writing off Dublin, but I'd be still targeting the Kerry in the Galway game and trying to get 2 victories out of it, and see what happens after that.
Yeah, definitely. We can't wait for the action to start, and it'll be absolutely brilliant. I suppose, Frankie, we can touch on to your book. It's been released in the last couple of weeks, Outside of the Right, Frankie. So what was the thinking behind it, and why is Frankie Dolan put pen to paper?
It's a funny story, actually. My mother and my wife were always on to me over the years, would I ever write a book, and being honest, I'd have no interest of ever writing a book. And then people just start asking me, be out and about or whatever, you'd be chatting to people, or people that text you, you know, friends of mine, would you ever write a book? And I was like, no, I've no interest, you know. I hadn't time, plus I'd no interest. The interest thing was the one. I'd no interest ever in writing a book. I'd hardly ever read a book, never mind write a book. And I was in Miami there in February last year with Caroline, and the phone went off a couple of times in the day, believe it or not, and a couple of the lads said, would you write a book? And I said, Jesus, I said, what's this about, you know? And so I sort of parked it, and I came home, and I sort of had it in my mind as well, you know. And next thing, the lockdown happened, and COVID came in, and I was like, geez, what am I going to do here now, you know? And I says, will I look into doing this? And so I rang a couple of good friends of mine. First of all, I rang Brian Carty, and I had a good chat with Brian. And Brian said definitely there's something there if you wanted to do it. And he put me in contact with Damien Lawler, and Damien Lawler said more or less the same thing. And he said, I'd love to do it, but he says, I'm writing a book myself at the moment, trying to tie up a few things. And I said, so that's no problem then. I said, I'm just wondering what you think. I says, I wouldn't have a clue with this, but he put me in contact with Liam Hayes, and had a good chat with Liam over a couple of weeks, and we just said we'd leave it and just see how it felt in a couple of weeks. And we were chatting on and off, and the COVID thing wasn't getting much better, and there was no football going on. So I said, right, if I'm ever going to do it, I'm going to do it now, because I had the time, and keep herself happy and the mother happy as well, John. And most importantly, and I suppose a few of the lads that have always been on to me to write a book, maybe they want to see a few stories about themselves in it. Maybe so that's how it happened, believe it or not. And do you know what? I'm actually delighted I done it in the end. Done it with Dan Dooner, and Dan was nearly a shrink to me, to be honest. I'd say he's still shaking his head at some of the stuff that we've talked about, which can't go in the book. But yeah, it's really good to think back on games I would have played in over the years, and the crack around the games, and family and all that type of stuff. And and the book will be out now in about 2 or 3 weeks' time, so it's looking good. Don't ask me if it's a good or a bad book, because as I said, I don't really read books. So, but from chatting to a couple of lads that have sort of went through it, I reckon it's really good. So I'm just hoping people will get a bit of a laugh out of it, John. I didn't want it to be all about football, because I wouldn't read it myself, my own book, if it was all about football. So wanted a sort of light-hearted stuff as well, a bit of crack, bit of humour, what goes on behind the scenes and all that type of stuff, and a couple of characters in it as well. So yeah, I'm happy with the way it's looking. So hopefully people will get a good read, John. That's the most important thing.
Absolutely, and of course, can't wait for Frankie Dolan's book, Outside of Right. Bound to be a great read, and some great stories in it. And so, Frankie, when you look back, and you had a long, winding career, and obviously you're still doing a bit of Junior B football, so that's obviously competitive. But who would be the best player you played with, and the toughest player you played against over the years?
Jesus, John.
Nice easy one.
The best player I would have played with, I suppose, John. It's very hard to say the best player. I suppose I'll go Roscommon. The best player probably played at Roscommon. Jesus, I'd probably have to say probably Francie Graham. I think Francie was the last All-Star player in Roscommon. I'd probably go Francie Graham, probably there, and with my own club, I'd probably have to go with Senan Kilbride. Senan is just top class fella, top class player. Shane Curran there, outrageous goalkeeper, so talented.
He loved that.
Yeah, but I actually played outfield with Cake.
Yeah.
Jesus, back in 90, I think it was 98 or 99. I don't remember the year. And the guy was so talented, but he wouldn't pass. You couldn't play with him out the field. He was a fucking disaster. He'd be shooting from everywhere. He wouldn't pass the ball unless you're getting the ears hammered off him. And I remember saying to the manager back then, I think it was Joe Movihal, I said, Joe, this guy is a serious goal. I said, would you play him in goal? I says, we cannot play out the field with him. I said, he's just a complete lunatic. And that's when he went into goal. And, he was unbelievable, John. He was, he was ahead of his time, Cake. And, his kickouts, football back then, believe it or not, in the 90s, wasn't covered as much, especially club football, as it is nowadays. And, the game is played now the way he's playing it back then, and you really get, I'd always say, you really get to know a goalkeeper, in training and how good they are, especially when you're doing shooting drills. He was outrageous in goal. The saves he pulled off in training were incredible, and he's definitely the best goalie I played with. Best outfield player, I'd have to say, was probably Senan Kilbride. Car Mannion there, brilliant footballer, you know. But I'd probably say it's Senan for probably obvious reasons. It's me as a forward, you know. Two of us clicked so well together. We got on so well off the pitch, on the pitch, you know, played golf together. He's out in Dubai now at the moment, you know, living it up, having a good time, you know, so, and he's right. But yeah, top class fella, yeah. So they'd be probably the few players that I'd mentioned there, John. And players against, Jesus, I played against a few hard boys back in the day. Sean Marty, Lockhart, Derry, you know, marked him in the league semi-final, you know, different gravy. Tomas Meehan from Galway probably didn't get the recognition he probably should have. You know, he was a top class back. Decky's brother. Decky probably got all the limelight there off the Meehans, you know. I was lucky enough to have a management team with me there a few years ago. Great fella as well. Francie Bellew, another tough nut. Cross McGlen Armagh had many run in with Francie. Michael Fitzsimons, actually played against him in a junior All-Ireland final back in 2000 and Jesus, what year was it? 8 or something like that. I'm not sure. He was only on the scene at the time. I didn't know him, and like he was a tough nut, you know, for a young lad. I was thinking to myself, this lad has a good career ahead of him if he stays with it, and he's had a brilliant career since winning any amount of All-Ireland, you know. Seamus Moynihan down in Kerry, played against Shamey a couple of times in Croke Park and challenge games. Great player. Probably wasn't an overly tight man marker, you know, but you know he was a great player on the ball, you know, great organizer. So they'd be probably some of the most. Paddy Christie, Dublin. Paddy was a good fella. Played against him a couple of times back in league games and that, you know. So they'd be probably off the top of my head. Couple of the lads there, a couple of Mayo lads as well, you know. Keith Higgins, played against Keith, only played against him once, kind of final in 2004. You know, you'd be lucky to get an inch of space away from him. You know, he had Everton, you know, he was athletic, he was strong, you know, he could read the game, he was fast, you know, and he was starting off sort of when I was sort of halfway through my career. So I said, this lad is going to be good, and he's had an unbelievable career, and he only retired last year, you know. So I suppose they're the few boys off the top of my head, John. Yeah, all really good lads, all really good players, all them guys.
Yeah, definitely. And I was just reading an article before we came on, and I think it's a quote from your book, or I think someone was even describing yourself. Wizard, wild, wasteful. So, Frankie, sum that up for me.
Yeah, my mother read that as well, and the first thing she says, wasteful, what did you mean by that? And I said, I don't know, what do you think? Well, she says...
your dinner, maybe.
But she says, there's one thing about you weren't wasteful with the ball. That's what she said. So I said, I don't know. I says, make what you want. Yeah, I suppose the way I like to play, like, sort of, I was my own man. Like, the game was sort of different when I was playing, John. It was do what you want. It was man v man, as I said earlier. You know, it was you against your own marker. And, like, I'm a coach now, manager, whatever you want to say. Like, I like to see, especially forwards, go out and express yourselves, you know, enjoy the game. I'm not going to tell you to be here in this position or here in this position. Play the game as you see it unfolding, you know, and use your brain and use your skill sets, and don't be afraid to try things, you know. And I suppose that was me when I was growing up, and like I scored some brilliant scores in my day playing football, and like, there wouldn't have been brilliant scores unless I tried it, you know. And you don't see too many really, really brilliant top-class scores nowadays, you know. You'd see an odd one, but you don't see them in every game, you know. So I suppose that's probably the few bits and pieces I'd have there, you know, especially as forwards. Go out, express yourself. Don't be afraid. I wouldn't be telling a fella that keeps trying things and keeps missing or whatever, but, you know, go out and try things, you know. At the end of the day, it's a hobby. It's an amateur sport. Go out and try things. If you don't try it, it's not going to come off. And I suppose you need to be brave as well, John. You need to have confidence in yourself. And I suppose I was lucky in myself that I had great confidence in myself. Even when I wouldn't be playing great, I'd still have fucking great confidence in myself, you know. So, and I still try things, you know, whether that's a good or a bad thing, you know. So
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Frankie Dolan, that was an absolute pleasure. Thanks a million for joining me on the JMac Podcast. And of course, this podcast is sponsored by OrgaRetro.com. Check the website for all your retro gear needs and wants. Frankie, enjoy the golf. You're top man, and best luck with the book.
Thanks a million, John. Appreciate it. And best of luck with the podcast.
Cheers, Frankie. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.